Hello, and welcome to another episode of Gigsy Creator Central. I'm your host, Arvind, and joining me in this video call is Vikram Parthan, CEO of Gigsy India. And today we're going to be talking about one of the most amazing and fun things to do in life. That is to become a stand up comic. For the longest time, I have wanted to do stand up comedy, and I've read my fair share of books, done courses everywhere, but somehow never managed to make it to even my first open mic. That being said, there is somebody on the Gigsy platform who is kind of the reason why we're doing this episode today. So, Vikram, why don't you explain what's going on behind the scenes?
Have you heard of Dr. Jagdish Chaturvedi, ENT surgeon, theatre artist, web series actor, stand-up comic, part-time musician, blah, blah, blah. The list is freaking endless.
Okay. So, what does Jagdish do and how is he related to Gigsy?
So Jagdish has two sets of content actually that are doing very, very well on Gigsy. One
Mhm.
is Victorious Secrets. Victorious, like
As in
winning
the lingerie?
secrets. No, like in the winning. If somebody is victorious,
Ah, victorious. Okay.
yeah, Victorious Secrets.
Definitely
And
not the kind of secrets I was hoping to unlock, but please
yeah,
continue.
yeah. So anyway, that's about how to become a successful stand-up comic in India.
Okay.
And the second portion being his first web series called Starting Troubles,
Okay.
produced by his parent company, his own entrepreneurial venture for
Hmm.
healthcare innovation in India called Hi.
Hmm.
Yeah. So Starting Troubles also has a web series streaming on Geeksy today.
Okay.
So he's got
So,
two sets of content.
there are a couple of things I want to get some clarity on. You said Dr. Jagdish. Is he like a real doctor? I mean, you mentioned ENT surgeon and all that. So you're telling me a real doctor is like
Absolutely.
a stand-up comic?
He is a freaking MBBS and an MD as well. Yeah, if
Okay,
that is
okay.
what you're looking at, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, I don't know, that's motivating, I guess.
Well, absolutely. I think he's basically maximizing his passion across the board, be it in terms of being a doctor and fighting cases at the front and center, and being a stand-up comic, following his passion for the lighter side of things.
Right.
He's maximizing everything that he's got.
So, as a stand-up comic, how is Dr. Jagdish, and not just Dr. Jagdish, you know what? Let me rephrase that. I want to be a stand-up comic, or I am already a stand-up comic, or maybe I'm like an up-and-coming stand-up comic, right? How can I use the Gigsy platform in a way that's going to be beneficial to me?
Very simply, if you're looking at any sort of artist profile or a performing artist profile, you'll probably have an up and coming section.
Right.
You'll have
People
someone
like
who
me,
is
very basic.
right, and
Right.
you'll have someone who has found the middle ground somewhere but is still not yet hitting the big time.
Right.
And then there are the big timers on top of the list,
Of
right?
course.
So for each one of these personas, we
Uh,
actually help them out on Gigsy by giving them online tools that they can use to set up their own subscriptions, to sell their own content, and to engage with their audiences in better and personalized ways, right, on the
okay.
platform. So whether you are a novice, whether you are someone in between, or whether you're an expert, you can make money on Gigsy's online platform by turning your passion into profit.
You know, while you were saying this, I could imagine people are saying, but you know what? I don't have a big list, or I'm not that famous, or I'm not that popular. Well, for those of you who are watching this, just go back and watch the previous episode where we've actually discussed this very same problem, right? Like, oh, my list is not big enough. What do I do? And the thing is, it's not about the size of your list, it's about how engaged your audience is with you. So tell me this, Vikram, like the engagement that you had with Jagdish, you know, he's been on the platform, he's been doing some things. What's one thing that's really stood out for you during this whole time?
Jagdish is not afraid to experiment, and he's not afraid to try out new things. He's not afraid to do a little bit of R&D. He's not afraid to get feedback from his near and dear subscribers or
Right.
purchasers. He's always looking at new, different ways to do things. Always experimenting. Always on the lookout to get any more interesting tidbits from his closest circle of fans. I
Mhm.
think that really sets him apart in terms of a comedy or a comic persona, right?
Mhm.
Where he is really engaging with people who have been following him for a while. Even if you look at his Facebook profile, if there are people commenting, he will be responding to every single comment, right?
Right.
And it's crazy. He actually responds to every single comment. So you should see the kind of engagement that he does. And when you actually have someone who's engaging so much with an audience that really appreciates you, your audience obviously will support you over a period of time.
Of course, of course. Now, you did mention Facebook, and of course, this applies to all other social networks as well. How is having a following on Gixie, or even getting your fans or getting my fans onto Gixie, how does that fare against having some fans on, let's say, another social media network?
So on every other social media network, you do not get paid for your content.
Okay.
You are putting out content for free. You're mostly, if you look at our previous episode, we spoke about influencers, right? We spoke about people who get to advertise with brands, etc.,
Right.
etc. But here on Gixie, you actually get paid for your content. And guess what? You're the boss. You decide how much you get paid for it.
Mhm,
You get to decide how often you put out content. You
mhm.
also get to decide whether you want to do something else, like doing video conferences on a one-on-one basis or even on a group setting. You get to decide whatever you want to do. If you want to do events, you can do events through
Mhm.
Gixie. It's a single stop shop, a one-stop shop for you to turn your passion into profit.
Okay. It is interesting that you mentioned that, because one of the biggest challenges that I have seen, and this is for me included, is I might be good at something, right? I might be good at writing or singing or stand-up comedy for that matter. And suddenly there's like a mental shift that's required, right? From being just passionate about something and being able to turn that into profit. And that's a very important lesson for each one of us, me included, that to learn. That being said, we did start this session off talking about stand-up comedy, and you did mention Victoria's Secrets. Just one last thing before we close out this session is, if I have access to Victoria's Secrets and if I go through that video course, is it a safe bet to assume that I will know a lot more about stand-up comedy in India and how to be funnier in, let's say, my day-to-day thing itself, right? Like presentations or meetings or stuff like that?
Absolutely. I think a lot of things within Victoria's Secrets, hinge on your presentation skills, hinge on how to write good stand-up comedy material,
Hmm.
about how you present yourself in an audience to an audience.
Hmm.
How do you handle hecklers, right? For instance, if there are people who are trying to shoo you away when you're on stage and act a little funny with you,
Right.
how do you handle those people? How do you pick out good content and material? How do you go about charging for your comedy business? All
Okay.
of that, right? So
All
it's a
right.
pretty holistic way of actually uh, you know doing your stand-up comedy career in India.
Okay. Great. Well, thank you for that. And for everybody else who's watching, being a stand-up comic is not an easy thing, but there are people like Dr. Jagdish who have made that process much, much easier. They've outlined pretty much every single step of the way, the steps that you need to take to go from zero to literally landing your first paid gig. And along the way, platforms like Gigsy, which you can find on gigsy.in, that's gigsy.in, there are tools that can help you turn your passion of stand-up comedy, of writing, or any other passion that you have, and turn that into profit. For more information, do check out gigsy.in. And that's all I have for you in this episode of Gigsy's Creator Central. Stay tuned for more. And if you find this video somewhere in the wild of the internet, please like, comment, subscribe, share, but most importantly, do yourself a favor and visit us at gigsy.in. Arvind saying over and out.